My name's Ema Skye. I'm a scientific investigator. You know, I really don't think we should worry about the police department murder. There wasn't even a body found there. Who cares? Perpetrator and the detective Goodman fought here, right? Don't you think there'd be a little more blood? The police and the prosecutors were desperate for decisive evidence. So they didn't solve it? On the contrary, it was solved quite cleanly. The criminal was caught and executed.
I had some business that day, sir, and so I went to the evidence room, sir. Guard station in front of the room was empty, sir. Now, the security officer was none other than Officer Marshall.
This place is more high-tech than you might think. Every lock is fixed so that only one detective can open it,
using their ID cards.
Well, that's the thing, pal. All ID cards can be lost. Why, I'm on my third card since entering a voice already. But even I can't lose my own right hand. Oh, you mean your fingerprints? Exactly, pal. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint. Oh! Got it. That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved in the crime. The blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. So we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints on a wiped blood stain. Welcome back. This is Queen 3210, and we are continuing Rise from the Ashes. So, we picked up a new shiny toy in the form of fingerprint powder, and we're able to dust for prints. And lo and behold, we found prints on a locker close to where a blood-smeared handprint had been wiped away, and they turned out to be none other than Jake Marshall's. Honestly, I think he's being set up. But in order to find out, we shall need to proceed through this chapter. February 24th, 9:41 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in two different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It says Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind the simultaneous murder, they wouldn't see capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye. We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belonged to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Oops, knocking shit over again. Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. February 24, 10 a.m., District Court, Courtroom Number 9. I mean, while she didn't consent, she didn't say no.
Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is...
I'm afraid you'll have to clarify.
It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the exact same time.
That's not physically possible, now is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared.
Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car.
Wow, this is one messed up trial.
So someone stashed his body in Edgeworth's trunk, and they did it without his realizing. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today, I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait.
Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand.
For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department.
The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer?
Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Will the witness please state his name and occupation?
Yes, sir. I'm Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir.
You fucking idiot!
This poor guy. He needs legal counsel.
So, you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it, sir. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You've gotta believe me, sir. Actually? Sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Help me! Help me, sir!
Officer Meekins.
Yes, sir.
Give us your report of the crime. Consider that in order.
Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. After all, I'm part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir.
You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm.
Even the title has sir in it. That's hilarious. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. Then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir.
Wow, that's not a good motto to be proud of.
I see. Then you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
What I need here is more info to work with. So pressing it is.
Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day.
Why? Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not?
Yes, sir. I am in charge of hiring new recruits, sir.
Oh, dear God. Yikes. Now there's a scary thought. Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed.
I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir.
Oh my God. Nightmare fuel.
I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir.
Oh, I see. Sounds like a very important mission.
After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room.
Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there?
I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room.
In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct?
Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck.
So then, your ID number should be listed on here, correct? Oh boy.
There it is! I found it! This is the one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 4989596. That's my number, sir.
I see. Huh? But the number 4989596... Yeah, that's where I noticed it. It's shown as being used twice. Please explain, witness.
It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. And the second time is when I went to go after him after everything settled down.
Oh, I see. So it was during that second time when...
Yes, sir. That was when I spotted the man on the security camera.
Data added to the ID card record.
I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked.
So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you?
It was a knife, sir. A knife.
Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then?
Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was.
You weren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into.
That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand.
Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand would be...
When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. Grabbed the man by his collar. I fought for my life, and then I did it.
What exactly do you mean when you say you did it?
I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him.
You took his knife?
I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. Made sure to close my eyes like a man.
I see. He must have been desperate.
The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood. And then the next thing I knew...
Yes?
He punched me right in my face, sir! After that, I passed out, until another officer smacked me awake.
About what time did you regain consciousness?
No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious.
Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30.
He hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. It's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir.
Your mission?
Yes, sir. That blue badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand.
Well, we can all rest easy now, then.
I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened.
Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point.
Yes, Officer Meekins. With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir.
The chief? Delivered it? Yeah, I'm suspicious too.
What is that? Videotape?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. I mean, I've been trying to avoid mentioning it, but he keeps slamming his fist into his injured hand. That is not a good idea.
It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room.
What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased.
That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at.
Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever.
Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering this victim. Oh, please stop using that word murder, sir. It scares me.
A video of a real murder. Just what are we getting ourselves into? What an informative videos this is. Beautiful. This is extremely helpful. He's out like a light and the other guy's gone. So how did it get past the camera?
Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us?
What the hell was that railing piece of plywood?
Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. That's the Blue Badger, sir.
Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Security video added to the court record.
Yes, well, anyways. This tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter, someone in the evidence room and some sort of, activity.
Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incompetent footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins?
Yes, sir. As you wish, sir.
Wonderful. Mystery Man.
This face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker which required Detective Goodman's fingerprints to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir.
We've been told in 3 different ways, no, he has to be him because he has to be him because he has to be him. That's a misdirect, if I've never seen one.
So it must be him! No one else could have unlocked it! What's this about her fingerprint?
Each detective has been given a locker equipped with the fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to.
Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start.
His face can't be seen clearly in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir.
But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face.
Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you must label people as having seen or not seen it.
Are you playing coy with me, Meekins? 'Cause this is not funny.
Since his face can't be identified in the video, only you can verify it. Why is everyone looking at me? If I had to label your stares as disturbing or...
Meekins? Eek! Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now, please be more certain when you testify.
Yes, sir.
You claimed the man who brandished a knife on you was Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you are positive it was him.
I mean, he opened the locker which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do.
About these lockers, is there no other way to open them?
No, sir. I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir.
I wonder what kind of methods he tried.
If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to his registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Exactly my point, sir. And this too. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir.
How do you know that information?
I've heard rumors, sir, from people in the know, sir.
People in the know?
The workers in the department cafeteria, sir, they keep me informed. They also listen to my romantic troubles, sir.
You didn't need to tell that part. For the record, the opened locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verify this information through a more reliable source.
So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it.
However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face.
So, sir, if I may say something, sir? Please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you do have a point. The footage doesn't lie.
That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security? You know what? I think there is. Regarding the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange.
Strange?
This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman.
What? This video contains such a contradiction?
Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal.
Yes, Mr. Edgeworth?
I propose we have the defense point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. He would want me to point it out.
Very well, proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of.
I have to point out a problem in the video? This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing.
Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video.
How did this guy ever become a police officer?
Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us.
The thing that's strange about this video would have to be, this? Oh, fuck.
Hold on a sec. I need to use my eye drops. Well, I don't get it.
Fuck. Would you mind if I borrowed your eye medicine?
Don't look at me with those blurry eyes.
Before your eyes get too teary, perhaps you should think this through again, Now, what do I do? Very well. Let's try this again. Just remember one thing, Mr. Wright. Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. Says the one pointing his finger at us. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. That was actually what I was aiming for, but I guess just pointing at the locker wasn't enough. Officer Meekins.
Sir! Do you mean me, sir?
Well, who else is named Meekins? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. Oh god, this music. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock's released.
According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir.
So, if so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the lock, let's rewind to a little earlier. Here, notice the light?
What's this? It's already lit!
Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle.
Oh! Order! Order! What is the meaning of this?
It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered. And the locker is automatically locked.
Oh, I know. It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert at this.
That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction.
Oh, well, it just goes to show novices should just keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation?
Me, Your Honor?
Yes. Why wasn't the locker locked?
Me, Your Honor? Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jammed the system sensor? Something jammed the sensor? Say, there's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's gotta be another clue somewhere in this footage.
Very well. Let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause for this.
I saw it too. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Oh, sweet God, thank you. Turn off that abysmal music. Oh, that was a glove. That was the glove. That was found at the crime scene.
What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when the doors are opened. I often fall out and roll great distances when I open my...
We can't be sure that item was completely inside the locker to begin with.
What do you mean?
The sensor triggered the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door?
Inserted?
This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor.
Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me, but the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door.
Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator.
Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene,
there just might have been something that fits that description.
But, sir, by insulator, you don't mean...
I think I finally got this figured out.
Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker room door?
I found this near the locker. A thin rubber glove.
But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker.
It has a tag that says SL9 incident. Oh, Edgeworth's caught on. Video seems to depict the victim opening the door. But this isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins?
Sir! It would appear so, sir! Order! 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 So are we to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman?
Do not be misled, Your Honor.
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this.
Sir? Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Oh, of course, sir.
Is this a joke? If it is, it's not very funny.
Very well, begin your testimony.
Mystery Man 2.
There's one other thing that proves that the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card.
Yeah, okay. Except people lose that shit all the time.
When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card.
Yeah. So other people can't use his card?
An ID card record. I see.
I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim. Except my suspicion is the all sevens code is the one who put the glove in the locker.
Just before the crime, huh? Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room?
That's a very good question. This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon.
Right, I see. Now let us move on to the cross-examination.
And go.
There's one more thing that proves that the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card.
Oh, you mean this thing right here? Wait one moment, Officer Meekins.
I'm not good at waiting, sir.
I have the victim's ID card right now. I found it at the crime scene.
That makes sense.
When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card.
Lost item report? It's only half completed.
He was reporting his card lost. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess, you believe this something to be his ID card, right? Can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card.
Order! Order! So now, what does this all mean?
It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card.
Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response?
I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo? Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes? What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. Which means he's basically gonna convince us that, that Ema Skye really did kill Goodman. Fuck. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is, well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago, you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Well. It seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove.
Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth.
The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. Gah! I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning.
The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman.
Just so, Your Honor.
Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else Lana...
What do I do? How am I supposed to get out of this mess? It's a good question. I gotta object. On principle. One moment, Your Honor. What now, Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. And yet it didn't actually show the victim, quote-unquote, leaving. Which is what I said earlier. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter.
Mr. Edgeworth.
Yes, Your Honor.
If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand.
Mr. Wright? Do you mean...
Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness.
Oh? Whom do you have in mind?
Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify. What is his or her name?
I mean, is there any ever doubt? Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare.
Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time?
We will, Your Honor.
Court is now in recess.
February 24th, 11:32 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. There's no stopping you, is there? There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright?
Huh? What do you mean?
You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out.
I haven't figured anything out.
Lana, you're the one who knows everything.
Emma,
You always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you.
I don't recall ever asking for his protection. Yeah, when you agreed to let me defend you in court.
How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me?
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. God damn it, Gumshoe. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Aw. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of noise, pal. Making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it all off, you call me here. I've seen happier people in funerals.
Sorry, Detective.
You better be, pal. Hey! I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Skye.
That's okay. So, what have you brought what I asked?
Oh! You mean this, right?
My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request.
My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident?
But Lana, that's...
I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here. You might do well to read them.
Can't believe you, the chief prosecutor, were a witness in that case. Miss Skye was a witness? SL9 incident files received from Lana Skye. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial killers.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Oh, what? Now that I brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma? But why? Why is your name in here?
What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana, this SL9 incident, is that...
That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings.
The Joe Dark? No. No, Lana! That's over with! No!
Emma, wait! She ran away. You know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here.
Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. Oh, don't tell me Emma is the serial killer. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file.
Yep, figured that's where it was gonna end off.
but we're not stopping. February 24th, 12:14 p.m., District Court, Courtroom number 9.
The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye.
Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Oh boy. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it.
Oh, I know. You're a patrolman.
As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner.
What do you mean?
Desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Oh my god, fucking hell.
Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English.
He's not going to speak in plain old English. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day. That just ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyhow. If I remember right, I was at a street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man. So if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail.
I can't say I particularly care for your attitude.
I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. He would be held in contempt so fast. So fast. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor?
This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours.
Thanks. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who entered with recordings. You entered them? Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase the tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So, in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. They said I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that just ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know join the police force.
So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me,
I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day.
There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that?
Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. Haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? Very good question. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyhow. If I recall correctly, I was the street side saloon at the time it went down. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel's steak lunches can beat that parlor's bongo sepia pasta.
Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles?
Not all desperados eats tacos, partner.
That's not what I meant. I hope that this has at least taught you a lesson.
That's strange. This is usually where Edgeworth says, "Did you not want a raise this year?" I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner. Or as you call it, evidence. If you plan on pinning me on to this crime, then you'd better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset.
One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything.
Texans don't take orders from no one. Everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have to play a trump card up my sleeve, so I best keep my clue. Before I use it though, I better up the ante. Got him. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or, to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. You literally just said that you never set foot in there, ever. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood.
Witness! What is the meaning of this? No blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene?
The blood was wiped away. However, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints?
Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints, found at the scene of the crime.
Oh, this'll be good. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same time placed as a blood-stained handprint. Murderers touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The blood stain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? How would you know that? See, I had nothing to do with it.
The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt.
Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner.
The defense may now cross-examine the witness.
This guy's holding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. That's because you, how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That, and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine.
What? What do you mean?
I mean what I said. That the locker I used when I was a detective, the locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Marshall's fingerprints updated in the court record. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained handprint. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine. It's no mystery.
Please explain.
My locker is covered with my fingerprints. Just so happened. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just about the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Bloodstain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast, while the other's a type of murder.
He's right. Although seemingly alike, they are totally different.
I don't see what homonyms have to do with this. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? How do you know that? I may be alone, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a blood stain at the scene, though, to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found in Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too.
So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint.
That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? This seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trail isn't there, you can't say otherwise.
This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall.
Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this there crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video's the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots.
Blind spots?
Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. Yeah, if they crawled on the floor. We don't have the time for your speculations, Mr. Wright.
Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now.
Do I have evidence? Fuck it. Let's examine the tape again. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Wouldn't be the first time, though.
Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us is this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it. There we go. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll not soon forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a circuit locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit.
Oh! The white cloth, it's gone! What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall?
When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away.
Order! Order! It would seem that's only hold your horses.
Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Except, he wouldn't have been able to open it without your fingerprint, dude. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. Hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker. Now prove it. I mean, I know how to prove it. Oh yeah, sure. I'm dumb. A fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. Well, what kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force who don't know about how the fingerprints work. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got one word for you, partner. No!
Order! 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 Witness! Explain yourself!
If this is a joke, it's the worst kind I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Oh, he ain't saying nothing.
Ole! Please answer the question.
What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here.
We can?
Have a look at these floor plans. There is no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall.
If that's so, then, where was the witness?
It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion.
Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime?
I mean, there's only one place he could have been. Officer Marshall was standing right here.
There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was.
Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous! Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted.
When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir.
Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond?
He suddenly pulled a knife on me!
Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Because the ID card would have blown his cover.
Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it.
The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card.
Oh, I get it.
If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? Smatter, partner? Cat got your tongue? You've got quite an imagination, partner. You've got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it? You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim.
Can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition.
I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim?
That is a good question. Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. Ack! This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of evidence has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? What's your game, Edgeworth? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker.
According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason.
The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside.
So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth?
Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot.
Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the defendant had to open the locker.
Oh, this one's easy. Boom. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end. Yet. Yeah. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood.
A bloody white coat.
You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner.
Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth?
Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are now, y'all wouldn't have had to be here now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. All right. Seems the time has come. Marshall's confession. I had to do it that day. I had to do it that day. Couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to get away. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15.
So the supposed victim was really you?
But there's one thing I still don't quite understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Marshall's confession. I had to do it that day. Couldn't just stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I had anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look-see at it myself one last time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transfer, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me nowhere. So you did it to fool the security camera?
And the detective's ID card?
Stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out that lost item report. I returned his ID card, left it on the floor in the prosecutor office's parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that lock yourself. But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. Ooh, I was expecting to meet Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. Didn't think anyone would actually come on in during that short time.
Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID.
I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyhow, he threw himself at me, and I ended up cutting him slightly. Sorry it had to turn out that way. And me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. He is literally shaving himself with the weapon that he used to cut another officer. Dude.
So you knocked Officer Meekins out,
and managed to escape. Knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. Didn't think it would make a difference, though. Security tapes erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coach in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? Lying against a wall unconscious? What else? He was sleeping like a baby.
So what you're saying is on that day,
there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no, I did not. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone.
What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence?
It's still missing, Your Honor. Oh, wonderful. Detective Goodman's locker was already emptied. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner.
It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer.
Not when you're in a courtroom, you're not.
Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID. Injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. It's assault and theft. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. I can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. Can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? No, I don't actually. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial killers, did it not? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. But there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something that no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cacti juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Ooh, someone close to him was killed. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then deputy chief of police. The group of detectives I was a part of under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least, according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you cannot fool me. Well, at least one thing's for sure. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime.
That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happened by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more to it than that.
So, if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office's parking lot was the real one.
Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye.
But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial.
Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I rest my case.
Seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt.
Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was a fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty.
Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
Hi, Emma. Your Honor? Wait! Emma? The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right?
Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian?
Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3.
Ah, he's a big softy after all.
I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings? Now that she mentions it, the names of both Skye sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint.
You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again.
So, did you find something?
No.
Huh?
Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all?
Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student.
And I'm just an attorney.
But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you.
Me?
Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain?
It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the ball plans of the handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this?
Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be...
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day.
Yes, Your Honor. If I have ever needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I mean, go big or go home, right? This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright.
You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them?
Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes. Something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark.
Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright.
With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use.
The question is, which item can prove something was missing in the floor plans?
This gaudy thing. What about that piece of plywood? The blue badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The blue badger is not here. So? So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well?
Well, what?
That's right. So long as the blue badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the lockers.
What? Order! So that means, just what exactly does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me. I didn't put it there.
Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically.
Emma.
On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the blue badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be possible to leave a handprint on that locker,
which means the handprint would have had to be placed beforehand. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the blue badger was brought in?
Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom.
It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once but twice.
But how?
One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time, someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous! I refuse to accept your absurd claim! The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence to prove when it occurred. When did the first incident occur?
To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being caught by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that locker room.
That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves it.
Very well. Then tell us, when did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented.
Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that.
Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place?
I mean, he's right. There is only one thing that would show it. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, that the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required.
An ID card? Oh! The ID card record!
Officer Meekins brought the blue badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m.
Oh, 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done?
I never would have figured you'd had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It does not take a lot of thought to figure it out that it couldn't have been me. Nope. I ain't getting it.
I'm afraid I don't understand either.
It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible.
That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room.
Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 7777777. So does my theory about the chief of police hold water? I suppose we shall see.
Talk about a lucky number. Well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room?
Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7777777.
Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 7777777.
That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID. At least at present.
What?
Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Booyah, motherfucker! Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous! Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority.
If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted.
An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question then. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Oh, damn, did she?
Lana?
I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law.
Defendant, just what are you saying?
I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did?
Chief Prosecutor, you didn't.
I don't have to, Officer Marshall.
Why won't you answer him?
Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. Is she... Okay. Cool. She's just admitted to fabricating evidence. Cool. That's not going to look badly for the rest of the trial. No, not at all. Fuck my life. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved.
But Lana!
Even if it involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about.
No! Order!
Lana's remark caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. So basically, the judge had to clear the courtroom and announce a continuance. Well, on that bombshell, we have learned that Jake is actually a red herring. And it seems to me that my initial suspicions that the chief of police, Damon Gant, is the killer might actually be founded. But we won't know until the next time. So until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like or subscribe. If not, leave a comment below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until the next time, guys. Ciao.